It is important for a leader to have awareness about what activates them, how they're feeling at any certain moment or time. This allows them not to be impulsive about having a reaction versus a response. It allows them to think through, what is the impact I want to have or that I might have if I respond like this? Even more importantly, it allows them to become more self-aware and hold themselves accountable to think, what am I feeling?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Knowledge Bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Aiko Bethea. And if this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button, hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of these amazing episodes. And if you're on iTunes, go ahead and rate the podcast and leave a review. That helps get the word out to great leaders and entrepreneurs like yourself. Please help me welcome Aiko with Emotional Intelligence Matter. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
My name is Aiko Bethea, and I am based in Atlanta, Georgia. I am the founder of Rare Coaching and Consulting. So we're a consulting firm that's really about leadership development. Our main clients are other large companies. I have a bench of about 30 certified executive coaches and facilitators. They're all people of color.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
we also provide workshops and keynotes, all in the effort of disrupting leadership in that old-fashioned model and making sure that leaders serve everyone and leaders look a lot of different ways, right? Really thinking about people who lead across intergenerationally and people who come from different range of backgrounds and experiences, and honoring that and knowing also that today's employees also are looking for a different type of leadership.
Yeah. You said Atlanta, right?
I'm based in Atlanta. I am.
Okay. Are you from Atlanta, or what? Give us a background on that.
I'm not. I do consider myself to be a Southerner because I was born in South Carolina. I was there for quite a while. After that, I did do a lot of my time in the Northeast between New York and Massachusetts. Came
Wow.
back down to North Carolina for law school. Came to Atlanta, practiced law, but then I spent about 11 years in Seattle, Washington. And right before the pandemic, I came back home and I'm back in Atlanta.
How long were you in Seattle? I mean,
11
I,
years.
I hear it.
You hear
I,
Seattle? Are
I
you
do.
kidding
I
me?
do hear a little. I
Oh,
do hear
don't
a
tell me
little.
that. Everyone tells me I sound like a Southerner. See,
Same.
trying to take my Southern card from me.
Give me that card. Let's talk about rare coaching and consulting. What inspired you to begin this journey, and why?
Right after college, I actually was planning to be in the Marines, and I went to officer candidacy school twice.
Uh-huh.
Like many of us, a lot of my decisions throughout my life have been driven by more about financial need than other things. So thinking about how do I want to get law school paid for, where do I want to be, and that led me to the Marines.
Yeah.
I went to undergrad at Smith College. I ended up there because they gave me the most money.
Mm.
I went to law school at Chapel Hill because it was a public school, a state school. So I deferred, and after I got in and went after that tuition cut from being an in-state resident.
Right.
And then I ended up practicing law at a large firm in Atlanta. And so up to that point, I would say all of my decisions had been financially driven. And when I left the law firm, I went to work at the city of Atlanta as an attorney when Stacey Abrams left to go there. And probably had about a 70% or 60% pay cut. But at that point, I wasn't a mom. It was just me. It was a big leap of faith, but it
Yeah.
was the big decision I made, I think, that wasn't financially driven. From there, practicing law there, I was recruited to go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation,
Wow.
where I led a compliance group there.
Why did you make that decision to leave law?
You know what? I still am active with the bar, but it
Okay.
really was the idea of thinking about what I want to do in ways that feed me in terms of not just food on the table, but
Mm.
feed my spirit.
Yeah.
Thinking about, I've always wanted to do things that were that was less restricted in terms of people telling you you have to, or you have to do it like this.
Yeah.
It's that whole shift from their agenda to your own agenda,
Mm.
and getting to that point of thinking about what do I want my life to be and what does that mean I would be spending my time doing or not doing,
Yeah.
moving away from that scarcity mindset of thinking about having to have a job because it brings in so much income
Mm.
versus, well, what's the opportunity cost when you make decisions like that?
I'm listening. I mean, as far as public speaking, I mean, I can tell it's something that you've done a lot of studying in. Unless you're a natural, let's talk about that. What just naturally going at it? I mean, flawlessly.
Well, I'll give you some credit. You're easy to speak to. Very, you make it very comfortable and easy.
Mm.
So that helps, of course. And I think maybe some of the work that I do, which includes providing keynotes, but also allowing people to feel comfortable in the space that you have for them. And that's part of the executive coaching and facilitation space, I think.
Let's talk about Rare.
All right, what do you want to know about Rare? I can talk about the company all day long.
I want you to talk about the company. I want you to talk about what inspired you to begin that journey. Give us the why behind it.
Part of what I shared with you about trying to make sure that I was in a financially secure situation all the time, a lot of
Mm.
because of how I was raised, we were not higher income at all. We
Uh,
were not middle class either.
mm.
And always thinking about wanting to not have the lights turned off, not have the water shut off.
Yeah.
I made a lot of decisions that were about financial security, but I
Mm.
didn't necessarily always like the rooms that I was in.
Mm.
I didn't like how I was treated in those rooms, and I would say that includes being dismissed,
Yeah.
being made to be invisible, or constant percolating narrative about being less than or less intelligent than other people in the room.
Yeah.
I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like seeing it done to other people who looked like me or were from the same class as me, etc. And sometimes when you elevate in leadership, you can become a co-conspirator in keeping those types of standards in an organization.
Yeah.
And I think that in most of the places that I worked, I was someone who disrupted even unintentionally because something didn't feel right
Yeah.
or someone wasn't being treated well, and you pay a price for that.
Mm.
And the emotional labor, even in recognizing that, can be heavy, and you lose years on your life. And then at the point when you become a parent, you realize, where do you want your energy to go?
Yeah.
And for me, I thought, if I'm going to work this hard for someone else's dream, someone else's bottom line and income, why don't I take a bet on myself? And can
Mm.
I do it in such a way that serves people who I want to be in community with, that invites other people to be a part of that community, to be different and to be better?
Mhm.
And that's why we ended up having Rare Coaching Consulting, because we support leaders who want to be good leaders and also be closer to their aspirational self.
Yeah.
We want to provide professional development for people who usually don't have access to it. We want our workshops and our skill building for people to honor what they are already bringing to the table versus looking at people and looking at them in a deficit model.
Yeah.
And it makes such a difference when people see a person of color in front of the room as a subject matter expert,
Yeah.
especially in something like leadership.
So you said something earlier about emotions. And I know you have emotions and logic, and a lot of times we can move based on our emotions and not on the logical aspect of what it really is or whatever. Emotions can cloud our judgment. Why is emotional intelligence? Why does it matter?
So, first, I would step back just to frame what I mean when I'm talking about emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So, when I'm talking about emotional intelligence, I'm thinking about our ability to be self aware as
Mm.
an individual about what's going on with ourselves and within ourselves.
Yeah.
It is the ability to regulate ourselves or to manage ourselves
Mhm.
and our emotions. It also includes the ability to perceive what's happening for other people around us.
Yeah.
How are they being impacted, or how are they receiving what's happening around them? And then the idea of, how do we manage the space in that relationship in terms of regulating or elevating that relationship as well. So that's what I'm thinking about when I talk about emotional intelligence. It's all those factors together.
And why is this important?
So it's important in for so many reasons. If we are talking and we stay in the space of just in leadership, it is important for a leader to have awareness about what activates them, how they're feeling at any certain moment or time. So this allows them not to be impulsive about having a reaction versus a response. It allows them to think through, what is the impact I want to have or that I might have if I respond like this? Even more importantly, it allows them to become more self-aware and hold themselves accountable to think, what am I feeling? And I might initially think, oh man, I feel like I'm angry
Yeah.
because I feel elevated and somatically in my body. I might have all the sensors of being angry. But as I sit and think about it, I might realize, why do I want to yell at Cedric? Why is this making me so angry? If I
Mm.
stop and pause instead of just react and yell at you, I might figure out that the emotion I'm feeling is not anger. And the emotion I'm actually feeling is disappointment or
Mm.
humiliation. And it's not that I'm mad at Cedric. I'm hurt and disappointed because I never expected him to show up that way. So now,
Mm.
when I've done that work of dropping into myself and self-interrogating, I am able to now engage with you in a more deliberate way. I am more posed to be able to ask of you what I need. I am more able to share with you what the impact of whatever was on me. And now we can move to a real dialogue that's based on truth and fact versus just my primal reaction,
Yeah.
right? And now we can dialogue. I can have more intentionality. So
Yeah.
that's why it's important in that sense. It's also important because if it's not even me who is exuding the emotion, but I'm in the situation of using emotional intelligence to perceive something, I might see you and we're having a conversation and I'm thinking, you know what? He has some nerve being over there and dismissing me and just disrespecting me and
Yeah.
ignoring me. He's not making any eye contact. He keeps looking away. He keeps picking up his phone every time I talk. That's the story I'm telling myself.
Mm.
But if I'm self-aware and I'm curious enough, I'm going to take a beat, recognize a story I might be telling myself, and actually become curious. And I might
Mm.
say, Cedric, what's happening right now? It feels like when I'm talking to you, you're looking away, and I just want to understand what's happening. And now I've invited you in, and now I can be squared away about what's going on. And you might tell me, I just received some really hard news at
Wow.
home, and it's hard for me to be present here. And that just dispelled the whole story I was telling myself. Important in leadership because we need to be able to understand the reality of what's happening. We need to be able to understand ourselves and hold ourselves accountable. We can't expect people to support us if we can't even ask for what we need. And I
Mm.
can't support you if I'm telling stories or living in fairy tale land and I'm not pausing to be curious. And my being curious with you, Cedric, and saying, hey, what's happening right now is a way of holding you accountable. Because
Mm.
now you realize, oh, I am looking away. Oh man, this is how it's impacting Aiko. Ah, let me say what's really happening.
Mm.
So that you're being held accountable for those behaviors that I'm observing and also for the impact that's having on me.
Aiko, that's a knowledge bomb. And you're really saying something that it benefits both individuals. And I'm listening to you and I can remember that there's stories. I mean, maybe there's probably some in the professional world, but even some it just popped in my head right away when you were talking. And that's one of those things with family, right? So somebody do
Ooh, did you
something.
say family?
Yes,
Now we're
yes.
going to the personal.
And
Yeah.
it's really crazy. I mean, I can remember, I can recall certain things where I'm upset with you, you upset with me by something I thought I heard, something I thought I seen, and then I haven't spoke to you in 2 years, and then we finally have get to the family reunion. We finally have that conversation because we both by the water cooler together. We have that conversation after 2 years, and somebody bold enough to bring it up. Why you haven't called me? Well, man, when you did such and such, such and such. Do you have any experience like that? If you do share.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? I mean, I'm a mom of two teenage boys. Happened the other day, I was taking my kid just I will say last night to go pick up some things we needed for this event. And he was really quiet the whole time and I either thought, wow, either something happened and is he sad or does he have an attitude? Like what's happening? And I just had to pause and say, hey, Wes, what's going on?
Yeah.
And you know what he told me?
What's that?
He said, I'm really tired. Basketball practice was hard today.
Wow.
Man, coach had us running. And I thought I had this whole narrative, and my child was just tired.
Oh,
right? Had nothing to do with me. And of course, I think sometimes as we get older, we see our parents really differently.
mm,
Not because we've resigned to saying, well, they are going to be who they are, but we start seeing, wow, they were between a rock and a hard place.
yeah,
Wow. It wasn't that they were ignoring us or didn't care about us. They were tired.
yeah,
Or you start seeing things through a different lens because now you have this awakening and you have so much more to draw upon versus the many stories that we live in
yeah.
about ourselves, right?
This is a good point to just stop and just to raise up. You just said this is something that you experienced the other day. So here you are, you know about emotional intelligence, you know about stories that we tell ourselves. You still found yourself in a situation where you were actually telling yourself a story, writing a book on what was going on in that vehicle, being you were writing the next number one bestseller right there
That's
in the
right.
car.
That's right.
And you have to go into those skills and those tools that you actually teach. First of all, listen, lead to greatness. Listen, good people. This is something that even the best, even the ones that we all struggling with this because we're human beings. We make this mistake, but we have tools, we have strategies, we have different things that we're working with, books that we're reading that checks us in the car with your son. For somebody else, listen, it can be on the job. It can be relationship between a leader and an employee, and something happened. The story may not even be true. And what strategies or techniques, tools that someone right now can probably dip into, or something they can add to their tool belt right now to avoid this from happening in the future, even if it happened today?
Yeah, there's so many different tools people would offer. I would offer perhaps two really simple ones. One is remaining curious.
Mm,
When you're curious, you expect to discover something you didn't know. And if I'm asking you questions, it's not, I'm doing it. I would not be doing it. And I cannot be asking you these questions in the mindset of an attorney, where an attorney doesn't ask the question they don't already know the answer to, right?
yeah,
We need to answer it in the vulnerability of knowing I have no idea what your answer is going to be.
yeah,
So being curious with the moment with my son with Wes in the car last night, I realized, okay, girl, you don't know what's going on with him.
yeah.
Just ask. So just being curious. So that meant that
Mm,
what he offered me, I was wholeheartedly open to receiving versus already thinking, no, he's mad at me. I know what it's about. So that when he offers, I'm just tired, I'm not going to say, that's not it. It's blah, blah, blah. Because
yeah,
sometimes that's what we want is to be right. We're so double down on it that the person doesn't really even have an opportunity to answer honestly and truthfully. And sometimes we've trained people to know that about us so that by the time, Cedric, I come and ask you about X, Y, and Z happen, you will instead just say, never mind.
mm,
Don't worry about it because you already know I'm not going to believe you.
yeah,
Idea of training yourself to be curious in a sense that you don't actually know the answer
mm,
and you're open to what someone is going to tell you. And that can be vulnerable because it means I'm uncertain about what you're going to say. So if I asked my son, are you upset with me? I don't know what he's going to say. If he's like, yes, mom, I am, because blah, blah, blah. I need to be ready for that. And I'm not going to act. Oftentimes, we won't ask a question where we sense that the response could be harmful, hurtful, or disappointing, or even ruin our ego. We're just
yeah,
not going to ask. So I
yeah,
would say this idea of open, vulnerable curiosity is key because also, Cedric, if you came and approached me and gave me insight about how I'm showing up or how it impacted you that could have been detrimental or harmful or doesn't leave me seeing myself in the best light,
yeah,
I need to be open to that and
yeah,
curious about it versus, you're wrong. That's not what happened, blah, 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 versus, whether I intended to or not, this was the impact I had on somebody. So let me be curious and hear more. Once
mm,
I'm in that mode as a way of life, I'm training people to be able to be open and to come to me because I am going to be open and receptive. So that
yeah,
idea of true critical curiosity is great because it trains us in how we engage with people and makes us responsible for stories we tell ourselves. It
mm,
helps us to truly invite people towards us without them having to go through all the baggage that we've put forth in front of them.
Yeah.
There's also this idea about critical curiosity that if Cedric doesn't even come to me and tells me that I had this detrimental impact, I'm already holding myself accountable by thinking through, like, oh, I hope that had the impact I wanted. Huh. The way that he responded, I'm processing the way that he responded. It seemed like I may have missed the mark. So now I'm being critically
Mm.
curious and self-interrogating. So it's not on you to come to me. And I might say, hey, I thought I nailed it, Cedric. But when you walked away, you didn't say bye or you didn't say anything. I want to make sure we're good. Because now my
Mm.
eyes are wide open, right?
Yeah.
So that critical and vulnerable curiosity is something that can shift everything for a leader, and it can shift everything for anybody who's in relationship with people. And that's usually all of us.
Yes. And I want to go back to the car ride with your son Wes.
Mhm.
So you had to create this safe environment for him to be able to, to be open with you. So I want to right now, that may be someone right now say, man, you know what? That's me. You know what? Okay, I need to work on my emotional intelligence. Okay, I need to listen more. Okay, I need to not respond so quick. I need to create this safe environment. What would you, a first step that you say, okay, these relationships a little off, what some steps they can do right now to begin to rebuild that, to even get to that emotional intelligent aspect of it? What can they do to create that environment?
If they were a client of mine, I was coaching them, there's probably two things I'm going to want to know. Because, as executive coach, I'm not going to tell you what to do anyway. I need to
Gotcha.
understand what's your intrinsic motivation.
Mm.
So if they are saying, I want to be better as a person, like now they have this idea of their aspirational self.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, describe who that person is.
Yeah.
How do people respond to them? How do they feel? How's that different from how you feel now and how people respond to you? Because that's not going to be their intrinsic motivation to be like, I am going to do this even when it's hard.
Yeah.
So the intrinsic motivation is really important. The other part, which can be connected to your intrinsic motivation, is how does it connect to who you are as a person? So it's probably going to be value centered.
Yeah.
So now, Cedric, when you say, okay, yeah, it is connected to my values because the thing I really believe in is relationships, or I believe in integrity. Now we're going to connect it to, again, another aspect of you that is grounded.
Mm.
So all these things, so no matter what it is that you're doing, you know why you're doing it and to what ends, right? So that allows you to measure how far away am I from this?
Yeah.
And because of how I'm feeling when I'm in alignment, I know how it feels when I'm out of alignment. So the somatic stuff, because we know, right? You know when you feel disappointed, right? What does it feel like in your body when you feel disappointed, Cedric? I just want you to think back.
Tightness in the body. I tend to get a headache because my brain is trying to figure the thing out and trying to tap into something that's inconclusive, if that makes sense.
So now you've already described to us you have tightness in your body. I'd probably go deeper with you and ask you, where do you feel it? How is your breath when in these moments? And you
Yeah.
said, I feel this pressure in your
My
head and your
head, my
headache.
neck, my
Yes,
shoulders is all it's all up here with me. Yeah.
yes.
So, yeah.
So you carry it here. So this allows you to know, okay, when I'm getting this sensation or things that are happening, something is not in alignment. What
Mm.
is happening? So now you take a beat as you're listening to your body, something's not right. What I know from working with my clients and also from my lived experience is that if you go back to whatever your top couple of values are, it's going to tell you something about where you might be in breach of one of your values.
Wow.
Dog, that's that feeling I get. Let me go back. What's happened or what's going on? And those spidey senses will tell you, yeah, it's because you're walking out of integrity and that's really important to you. And when you did X, Y, and you're like, that's what it is. Or you allowed that unfair, inequitable thing to happen and you didn't say anything. Boom. So
Yeah.
this part about listening to your body and getting the truth from there, that is something that's going to help you to know, am I aligned intrinsically with my values? Am I still intrinsically motivated? Because now that I know what's going on here, now what am I going to do? Now you're going to have an idea about what to do next. If it was just about if I just came to you, Cedric, when you asked me that question, I said, okay, you do these four things if you want to have more emotional intelligence in how you're engaged with people. One, you're going to listen actively. Two, you're going to raise your self-awareness. Three, you're going, what does that do for you?
Wow.
Now you got a little map of 4 things to do, but you could just go to get a Forbes article and learn that.
Uh,
But if we could all do that, we'd all be amazing leaders because we'd be reading HBR and Forbes and just doing it. But you
mm,
have to know what your intrinsic motivation is and also therefore what your barriers might be. Because
wow.
now that is the emotional feeling part of us, right? Is we're all feeling creatures. So the reason I may not want to do that is because I'm not going to do that because that's not in line with my values. That feels wrong, and I'm not going to do it, even though I want to be the best leader, and that's what HBR says. The reason why I'm not going to do it is because this person, whenever I'm with them, I see something happening that's out of integrity, and that I don't want to be like that. So it's not about me being able to be A, B, and C. It's because in this case or in this situation or with this person, it is not in alignment with my values and who I want to be. But at the same time, I might realize, man, this feels really weird. I feel like I want to go and ask this person about what the impact was or what these things were, but it feels like that would be kind of a vulnerable, weird thing to do. But then you realize, oh, the reason I'm drawn to doing that, and all the textbooks will tell me I shouldn't be talking about feelings at work. And I definitely shouldn't be stepping out on a limb and trying to take accountability for something I don't even know what's going on. But
Mm,
I realize my values, integrity is compelling me to do this, to be in alignment of who I want to be and what's important to me. So now I know what I need to do. And it's not because it was in the Forbes article. It's because the person I want to be in this line with my values is that I want to ask Cedric, what happened in there? It felt misaligned, and I don't know if I have ownership or what my part in this is, but I can't like go another day without asking you so I can better understand. Does that
knowledge.
resonate?
I, you know, you was getting ready to say something else before I say what. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just asking if that resonated with you because I know
Oh
that
my
a lot,
goodness. That's
but
what I was getting ready to talk
okay.
say. So you just said something. So I know my values. So my first value is loyalty is number one for me. Loyalty. Number two is integrity. Number three is compassion.
All we need are the top two or three.
And
I want you to tell me your top two or three, and I want you to tell me what are the behaviors that reflect those values. Okay, so one of them I heard you say was, I heard you actually say integrity.
yes.
Would integrity be one of those top three?
Yes. Number
What are the
two.
behaviors that reflect being in integrity?
It's doing the right thing, whether somebody is around or not. Just doing the right thing because doing the right thing is the right thing to do.
Okay, so what I just learned about you when you said that, I already know what you're going to say. If you're my leader and there's some kind of product that came in, some books,
Mhm.
they're all ruined. They came in, they were wet, they're ruined, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, you know what? These aren't any good anymore. We're going to go ahead and write these off, or we're going to do blah, blah. What I do know is that you're going to ask me, well, how did you write it off listed? What did you put? Were you clear about when it happened?
Yeah.
Were you clear about blah, blah? Because we want to make sure that, Rick who delivers them is not the one who's going to take the
Yeah.
bag for it. We need to be really clear about what happened. Even though
Absolutely.
nobody else is going to ask, nobody's going to, oh, we always write it off as damage. I know that you're going to be thinking because integrity is one of your values, and
Yeah.
it's regardless of if you're going to get caught or not, it's
Mm.
about doing the right thing. So I know that you're going to make
Yes.
sure that this, and this, and this is done. You
Yes.
already taught me what one of your boundaries is going to be.
Yeah.
So without even telling me, because I know your value, what it looks like, I know what one of your boundaries is going to be. And you're not going to be somebody who's going to want to cut corners. You can be like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Even if
Never.
nobody does know,
Yeah.
look. And that also means that when you're in relationship with people, your sister, your best friend, people already know what Cedric is going to say.
Yeah.
That's because you've done the work of self-awareness, which is part of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
You know what your value is and you know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so now you have educated me about how to interact with you and what your expectation is without really even telling me.
That's crazy. This is
Does that
crazy.
make sense?
Yes, it makes
Yep.
sense, and
And
you
so,
and you hit it on the nose. And you even talked about the part with the body, like responding to your body. I never even thought about this. The responding like your body telling you, and I'm like, wow, that's when these moments like that. It's when I get these headaches and get, tired
Out
and
of your
stiff.
values.
It's at
You're
those,
being
yeah,
forced to be somebody you're not. You're
that's
being
crazy.
stretched. There's dissonance between what's happening and how you want it to be and what's important for you because of who you want to be.
Yeah.
And there's dissonance. So it's going to show up. And one of the things, and I was watching you as you were thinking about how does this feel on my body? Like I've never, hold on, let me think about it.
Yeah.
Most of us, we're walking around disembodied.
Golly.
We're all here.
Yeah.
We're not here. Even if we do what they say, the 17 inches or something from your head to your heart that we need to connect. There's
Jeez.
also this idea, there's head and heart, and they are all inside of our bodies. Our bodies are primal. You know, when you're outside and you get your spidey senses get up, somebody's, you don't have eyes behind the back of your head, but
But
something is off. When you come into
yeah.
a room, it feels odd. Your body has so much knowledge in it.
Yeah.
And so we have to learn how to pay attention to it, to be in it, to make sure it's running in an optimal way so it can keep talking to us, but we have to listen. So it's not just
Okay.
people think head and heart. How are we going to be whole beings? And that other part, living in that dissonance and not pausing to ask what's happening so that you can reconcile things for yourself, there's a cost to that.
Yeah.
There's emotional labor, but there's also cost in our mortality because
Mm.
you're carrying that, right? You're carrying what that dissonance is between how your body and naturally wants it to be and how you as a person are wired to be. So if it's integrity or compassion and you're in these spaces, if you listen to your body, you know these things about yourself, you're going to realize I can't be in this space. It is not healthy for me. I may be making $400,000 a year, but I'm paying a different type of cost, which is what I realized when I went off to work for myself, which is that the cost might be you're not making that salary anymore, but I'm paying a different cost in terms of who I want to be and living my
Yeah.
life. Also, I'm paying in years of my life because I am absorbing all of that emotional
Mm.
labor and stress and not living to be my aspirational self because of a paycheck or being surrounded in a space with people who don't respect me and I don't respect or who want me to show up in a way that's in complete contrast to who I want to be. They're taking away or robbing away. I'm giving away my time with the people I love. And you're able to do a more precise equation for your life
Yeah.
when you're able to know yourself in that way. So many people will tell you, "Oh man, Cedric, I can't believe you left that good paying job with those benefits." And you're thinking what they don't know is the price I was really paying, and I'm no longer
Yes.
willing to pay it anymore.
Yes.
My hope is that people, when they work with us, they're very clear on what their agenda is versus what the world, even family members, what other
Yeah.
people have said it should be.
Yeah.
And so that they can really live the life they were meant to live and be fulfilled and not short in their years in this world, right?
And this was great conversation, great information. You dropped nuggets. I mean, I've wrote things down to even after this, doing me some sitting down in the backyard, and just kind of pondering and meditating with information you shared. Someone listening to you right now, like, man, shit, I want to connect with this sister. She dropping diamond after diamond after diamond after diamond, and I want some diamonds too. I want to shine too. If someone wanted to work with you or be coached by you or your team, I looked you up. I was like, man, she's killing it.
They can find us on Instagram and located at rare_coach. And also our site is www.rarecoaching.net. They can find us there as well. I have a book that'll be coming out next February, so maybe I'll be back here to talk to you about it. And it has actually a lot to do with the things that we were talking about today, Cedric.
February, the end of February.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I want to get you back on here and discuss that. So maybe
let's talk then.
Maybe January or something. Getting you back on to.
Sure. Love to be here.
I'm excited about it already.
We want to thank you for joining us today on the Lead to Greatness podcast. So remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace.